Hello and welcome to the first episode of Proud Products, a new talk show series featuring notable alumni of our very own Green High School. I'm your host, Xavier Adekunle, and I'm here today to fill you in on the latest insight on our former graduates. Where are they now? What are they contributing to the outside world? How has their education in Green impacted who they are today? These are all questions that will be answered on the show. And our very first proud product today is a professional, dedicated, and award-winning, multi-skilled journalist with years of experience in the radio news industry, and is currently a journalist with WKYC Channel 3, working from the station's new Akron-Canton mobile newsroom. In 2011, she was named a Woman to Watch by the Women's History Project in Akron. She was also recognized for her recent work in journalism, receiving the first place award for Best Reporter by the Ohio Associated Press Media Editors Association. So without further ado, it is my honor to welcome and introduce to the show Amani Abraham. Amani, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for coming today.
Oh, thanks for the introduction.
I know this is a little different for you because normally you're the one doing the interviewing, and now the tables have turned.
I know. I'm in the hot seat right now, so I'm a little worried.
So just to start off, tell me a little bit about the kind of work you do over at WKYC. Like, what's your typical work day like?
Well, you know, we get up every morning and we have a little meeting with some of our producers and fellow reporters. We talk about what's happening in the community. What's, you know, if maybe it's a crime-related story, hard news, politics, or maybe it's just something that's happening in the community. So we kind of make sure everyone has their story for the day, and we get out and we go and we shoot our stories, we interview people, and hopefully we'll have a finished product by the 6 o'clock news.
Now, I want to go back to how you were saying you write hard stories, and so just tell me about how to adapt with the different types of stories you're doing, because I know maybe one day you're writing a fun little story about the guy at Bueller's who is the fastest grocery bagger, and then maybe another day reporting about a sad situation of like the little girl over at the Jackson Township who was found dead in the back of a restaurant. How do you adapt to that?
Well, let's just say those stories are never easy to tell, especially that Jackson Township story that was really hard. But it's those hard stories that need to be told. And so it's one of those things where I look at it as your daily life. You go through some hard challenges, you go through some tough times, and you also have some really fun moments and where you get to smile and have fun and just let loose. And that's the same with my job, and that's the same as being a journalist, is every day is different, and it's just like living your life.
Yeah. So I know you used to work over at the Akron Radio City Music Group as a reporter and a radio personality. So just tell me, what was the transition like moving from behind a microphone reporting, to now going all over Northeast Ohio and reporting live on camera?
Well, it was a nice transition. Let me start with college, you know, because I was behind the microphone on WZIP, and that was really great for me. And then I got to transition into radio in the real world, I guess you can say, with Rubber City Radio Group, and that was really fun. And you know, being behind the mic is always great because a lot is left to the imagination, right?
Exactly.
It's just your voice, you're telling the story, and you're trying to paint a picture. And transitioning into the TV side of things, now I actually get to, you know, videotape something. I get to record something and show, instead of maybe describing what happened, I can just say, hey, look, here's exactly what happened today. So it's definitely a different beast, I guess you can say, in the media world, but in essence, it's the same thing. You're out there to tell a story, and I'm glad I get to actually be out in the community, running around and meeting great people.
Now, which one would you say is better, letting it up to the viewers to use their imagination, or actually visualizing and seeing it as themselves?
That's a hard question.
Yeah.
It's your preference. I think it is. I think it definitely is your preference. I think every outlet has its own advantages, disadvantages. But I do like the TV side of things. I always liked behind the camera work too.
Yeah.
I loved editing and piecing together and showing how things move. But I also liked editing in the radio world, using audio clips to tell your story. That was really cool. So each has its beautiful moments.
Yeah, which is why it's really helpful to be multi-talented in all of
absolutely.
these things.
Absolutely.
That way you can be skilled in whatever you do.
Oh, yeah.
So just tell me about over at WKYC, what is the workload like over there compared to?
Well, I don't really know what the word break means anymore. Like getting a break, But no, it's a lot of work, but it's good work.
Yeah.
You have to love this job to do it.
Yeah, I bet.
And obviously it's an 8-hour shift. Sometimes it can be a 12-hour shift depending on the day. But it's high paced. You get your story in the morning, and sometimes 3 to 4 hours later, you may have breaking news, and you have to be taken from that story that you've been working on into what's happening that people really want to know about right now. So it's a lot. It's a lot to handle, but I love that. I love that high-paced environment, and you look at the finished product at the end of the day, and you're like, wow, all that work, and that's what we can see.
So how much preparation would you say it takes to form a top quality story?
Oh, that's hard to tell, because I feel like, it can be a short interview with somebody, 10 minutes maybe, and you can have one of the best stories you've ever done, because that person that you talked to was just so captivating. And then you can do a story that lasts 2 or 3 days. It's an in-depth story about maybe drug abuse in the community, and that requires a little more attention. So it really depends on what you're following that day.
Now, what is the time limit with that sort of thing? Because I know over here when we get somewhat strict time limits, but I bet over there it's a lot more.
Yeah, I remember
direct.
when I was in high school, and even in college, it was like weekly or maybe even monthly, you'd have a deadline. Now it's daily.
It's a little different in the real world.
Sometimes they'll send you out in the field. Breaking news happens within maybe a couple hours or maybe even an hour before you get on air to do your live shot. But you just have to be prepared.
Okay, so now we actually have a little surprise for you.
Oh boy!
Here,
I don't know if I like surprises.
If we go to the next slide on the screen, you'll see we found a picture from when you were one of the top 25 students in your class for Green High School. Now I see you're actually next to Mr. Lyons, who was he your?
Essentially video journalism. I was in the class and started working with him. I think I even did an independent study one year for my senior year, and worked on some senior projects that we had. He was just wonderful to work with, and it actually allowed me to get my first, I think I would say, first hands-on experience doing what I now love.
And what kind of impact would you say he had on you and wanting to go into this field of journalism?
A big impact, because essentially I was really trying to find myself and really trying to know what I was good at, and also how to tell a story. And I think he was the one that helped you to understand that you could be a great interviewer, you could also be great behind the camera, you can put together a piece. We worked on a commercial one time for a local car wash, and that was really cool to get that experience. So I think it was just great that it opened up my eyes to what's out there.
Exactly. And so was he the one who first introduced you to journalism, or did you have experience before?
I didn't have really any experience before, but I will say that I used to watch Oprah Winfrey like all the time. So I was like, oh, I would love to be in her shoes. And I think that's what led to my love of storytelling and then journalism.
Yeah, and I know for a lot of kids, it's always like, oh, I want to be on TV, and you actually made that a reality.
I actually can't believe it still.
Yeah, so looking back almost a decade now, how would you have described Amani in high school?
Oh, she was scared. She was really scared. She didn't know what was out there.
Yeah.
She really didn't know what was out there and whether she could tackle it. But that's the great thing about growing up, is that you find what you're passionate about, you find what you love and what you care for, and if you're good at it, and you move forward with it.
Definitely, and I think that speaks for all kids going
yeah.
into high school, because I know I'll be a freshman next year. I have no idea what I want to be. I'm still kind of exploring. So would you say that's kind of what you were doing when you first went to high school, or did you know exactly what field of
Oh
career
no,
you wanted to go in?
and I still think that I will always be in that stage
Yeah.
of finding myself and finding what makes me happy and finding what my purpose is in life.
Yeah.
And I think everybody goes through that, But that's the beautiful thing about growing up and really embracing whatever's in front of you at that moment and learning to tackle it on your own.
So looking back to high school, before we move on, do you have any favorite moments or special experiences you'd like to share with us?
I don't really know if I have like a single favorite moment, because I'll tell you one thing, I loved high school. I loved school in general, which, people are always like, really, you love school? I did. I loved being in classrooms. I loved having projects. I loved the relationships I built with my teachers and even just friends, because, like we just talked about, growing up, you're finding yourself. So when I was a freshman to even just a senior, a dramatic change. And looking back at it now, and when you even put that picture up, I'm a different person.
Yeah. So from an aspiring journalist as myself to someone who's been doing journalism for a while now, what kind of advice would you give someone who is looking to pursue a career in this field?
I would say, and I know it sounds cliche, but reach for the stars, dream big. I know a lot of people probably tell you that, but you have to have a goal in mind, and you have to keep reaching for it and fighting for it and working hard at it, because that's what's going to make you not only a great person, but great at what you decide to do in your life, whether it's interviewing people, being a journalist, or being out in the field behind the camera, whatever the case is. Just reach for the stars and really embrace whatever's put in front of you, because you don't know maybe if you're gonna like it or you're not. So it's a beautiful kind of transition in life.
So like, what qualities would you look for in a person who wants to go out into the field of journalism? What does it take?
It takes an open mind, and it takes hard work and dedication, and you have to be willing to be put up against anything, because when you're a journalist, sometimes you'll have a beat, sometimes you will just focus on politics, but other times you do a little bit of everything. And so you have to be willing to talk to a politician, and then also just talk to the community during a nice event that's like a ribbon cutting ceremony. So you just have to be open and willing to kind of dive into anything that's put in front of you.
And exactly. So like, how hard is it to be talking about a subject that you know nothing about, and like, or maybe something you don't really care for that much? How do you adapt to actually taking time to look up some information on that and just putting it out there for everyone?
Yeah, well, it can be hard sometimes when you don't know a subject, but how I look at it is, your viewers may be in that same position you are, and they may be curious about what that topic is that you're trying to figure out yourself. So how I look at it as, I'm working with you, I'm trying to do this with you, and not say that I know everything about this subject, but I'm trying to piece together so we can both understand, move on, and even learn more in the future. And the great thing about being a storyteller, or the great thing about being a journalist, is the fact that you get to continuously learn about different subjects and topics that maybe you weren't aware of before. So you might not be knowledgeable in one specific subject, but you know a little bit of everything, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think it creates like a relationship between the reporter and the viewers. Before, we both started on the same page of knowing nothing, and now we're kind of growing together in this topic and just...
Oh, absolutely. You would be surprised if you were at a dinner table with my family, because we have so much to talk about. Because, of all the things that that you're reporting on, or that you see, or the people you talk to. It's pretty cool, because I have tons of things to say, and it makes for a really interesting discussion.
Yeah. And I also think it's important to make sure that you're reporting the truth and not... maybe you see all this articles online, and some of it might just be propaganda, things that aren't exactly true. How important is the truth in the journalism that you do?
It's very important. That's what I think journalism is.
Exactly.
It's truth telling. And, with social media and how that has had a big impact in the way we get news, you do have to be careful. And if you do want to become a journalist, it should be very important that you stress that that is your priority, is to get the facts out. Now, no one's perfect, so you may get something wrong, but it's your job to then correct that, or just to make sure that everybody is understanding the topic that you're talking about. And truth telling is so important right now. And it's a priority in everybody's life. When you're at work, you want to make sure that you get your facts straight, your numbers right. If you're an accountant, it's the same concept.
Now, before we wrap up, looking forward in your career, what is your ultimate goal?
Oh, my ultimate goal. I think my ultimate goal will never change, and I don't think it'll even change when I'm 85 or 90. It's to make an impact in someone's life. And I hope that I can do that with storytelling. I hope that I can just do that in my daily life, whether it's volunteering. But at the end of the day, all that matters to me is not, how large the broadcast signal is did it reach someone who maybe needed to hear that at that time? And that's really important. And I hope that I can continue to, strive to reach those goals even when I'm 95.
Well, thank you so much for coming today. It's been a pleasure getting to talk to you.
You too.
And I mean, just everything you said has been amazing. So.
Well, thank you for having me. It's always good to be at my alma mater and really feel like, this was my home. So it's really great to be back at home.
And best of luck moving
Thank
forward
you so
in your
much.
career. So, if you want to see more of Amani Abraham, and her latest projects, you can visit her website, amaniabraham.com. And also, don't forget to check her out on WKYC Channel 3. And this concludes our first episode of Proud Products. Special thanks to you viewers watching at home. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay updated on upcoming episodes. If you have any questions or comments, we would love to hear from you in the comment section down below. And if you have any suggestions for who you'd like to see be our next Proud Product, feel free to email me at adekunlexavierbb@gmail.com. This production was student filmed and edited and brought to you by the Bulldog Beat and Green Local Schools. Thanks again for watching. I'm your host, Xavier Adekunle, and as always, go Bulldogs.